In the last section, we worked with string keys. In this section or this chapter, we introduce you how to include hashing integer keys or how to hash integer keys. The data set we are working with is the student's grade. So let's first create an HTML file and the JS file, or we can start with creating the JS file and later we'll have the implementation of HTML to get the necessary output. So here I'm going to start with the data set of student grades. The key is a 9-digit student identification number which will generate randomly along with the student's grade. So there are some functions associated to it which is used to generate the student data. So what are they? Let's have a look. So first thing is that I'll create a function. So my function will be function hash table. Prior to that, I'll create a function create a functionality associated to it. So first is like hash table. Here I'll say as this dot table corresponds to new array. And then I'll say the array length will be 137. And after that, I have this dot simple hash as simple hash, and then I'll have the better hash, so that is this dot better hash as better hash, and then we'll have the distribution method, so that will be this dot show distro equals show distro. Then we'll have the put functionality, so we'll have put this dot put equals put. After this comes my put functionality, so we'll have all these in the standard way, the way we described in our last chapter. So here I'll say function put data as variable position equals this dot better hash data. Then I'll create the value for table inside position. So we'll have this dot table position equals data. And after this, I'll create the simple hash functionality. So that is function simple hash. Here I'll take the parameter data, and then inside that I'll specify the total value. So where total equals 0, and then I'll say for variable I equals, it will be the variable value. So variable I equals 0, I less than data dot length I plus plus total of data dot character code at. So here I'll give the similar functionality in the previous chapter, character code at I, and after that I'll specify the console over here like console.log, and inside this I'll say hash value as data. So I'll embed with the data value, and the concatenation operator will print the give the necessary spaces wherever it is needed. Then comes the total. After this comes return total, and it will give the modulus parameter with this dot table dot length. So I mentioned with this simple hash functionality. After that, the next functionality is to show the distribution. So I'll say function show distribution, that is show distro. Here I'll take the parameters where n equals 0 for variable I as 0, I less than this dot table dot length, then I'll increment the value of I. After this, I'll specify if this dot table of I is less than equal to undefined. If I get that the value associated to it is undefined, then I will not print the value. So I just check if it is not equal to undefined, then I'll say console.log I plus, and take the parameter as this way, and then I'll say this dot table of I. So this is how I did with show distro parameter. Next comes is the better hash functionality. So better hash functionality was getting up the product of the ASCII values. So here, first of all, it will show the summation and then the product. So I'll say function better hash string. Inside this, I'll specify the constant h as 37. We took 37 because it was working with our logic. We are not taking 31 parameter for now. And then is where total equals 0. After that, for variable I equals 0, I less than string dot length I plus plus. So here I specify the total product in such a way like it will be total concatenation with the addition operator, and here I'll say h into total, and it will take the string of string dot char code at I. So I've done with my for loop. After that, I'll specify the total. So my total will be total equals total of, the next parameter is modulus, this dot table dot length. After this, I'll specify if total is less than 0, then total corresponds to plus, like it's concatenated with this dot table dot length minus 1. Now I'll return my total in the integer format. So it will be return pass int of total. So the next functionality, like we are focusing on hashing data using integer values. So here we'll create a new functionality which is called as get random integer. Now to create a functionality, the name of the functionality is get random integer. So get random integer will help you to sort whatever it is needed. For that, I would like to say the get random int allows you to specify a maximum and minimum random number. So we have a scenario where we have a student identification with a 9-digit number which we will generate randomly with the student grade. For that, the first functionality is the get random int number. So for that, I'll say function get random int. So this is my function and it will take two parameters, min and max. Now it returns a value inside the functionality. I'll say return math.floor, and here it will say math.random. Inside this, I'll specify the product as max minus min plus 1. and I'll end my return value. The next parameter is to generate the student data in the array format. So I'll say function generate student data in the array format. Here I'll call for loop. So that is for. First of all, I declare the function and then I'll show you the use of it for hashing integer values. So here I declare variable I as 0. I should be less than length of the array and I plus plus. So inside this for loop, I'll specify variable number equals an empty array or the empty value, and for variable j equals 1, j less than equal to 9, because I am checking with the 9 values, and then I'll increment the value of j. Here I will concatenate my value with inside the number as mat.flow, mat.random, and I'll take a product of 10. So this was for my for loop. Outside for loop, I'll declare the get number value, or I can say the get number functionality will be called over here. So here I'll say get random int. So minimum value I'm specifying is 50 and the maximum value is 100. And here I'll specify this value whichever I'm getting inside the number inside my array index. Now let's understand why there is a need of this functionality get student data in the array. So this get student data function generates the student data. This is actually used for generating the student data. The inner loop, which you can see over here, generates the student ID number, and right after the loop finishes, you can observe a random grade is generated and concatenated to the student ID. Okay. Our main program will separate the ID from the grade. So hash function will total the individual digits in the student ID to compute the hash value using simple hash function. So this was our implementation. Now let's create a variable for numbers of students. So my number of students is say 10. So here I'll say where num students equals 10, and after that I have the array size as variable array size equals 97, and then I'll have the ID associated to it. So ID len as 9 and variable students equals new array, and inside this I'll specify the num students, and after that I'll specify the functionality to generate my student data. So that is generate student data. Here I'll give the parameter as students. So this is my new student set, which is we declared inside variable student. Now I'll console. So I'll start with my console over here as student data. So your semicolon should be outer. Now you will say for variable I equals 0, I less than students dot length I plus plus. Inside this I'll specify the console. So I'll say console.log students of I dot substring 0, 8. Then I'll specify the blank parameter in the string format, and after that I will embed my students, whatever the value I'm getting in my index dot substring, and the substring of 9th character will be printed over here. Now this was regarding the student data which I was getting with the random integer format. Now I'll print for the distribution format. So I'll say console.log data distribution. And after that I'll specify where h table equals new hash table. So declaring the hash value, and then I say for variable I equals 0, I less than students dot length, and then I'll say I plus plus. So here I will put whatever the values associated to it as h table dot put students of I. Now I'll show the distribution over here as h table dot show distro. After this, the next important step now is to create a hashing2.html file, because we need some file to embed JavaScript functionality. So this is my hashing2.html. Here I'll declare the doc type first. This is my doc type, HTML. Then comes our HTML tags. Inside this I have the head tag and the title tag. And inside title I'll specify hashing algorithm for integers. Now after this I'll specify the body tag. You can also specify the meta tag over here. So my meta tag will be after head tag, meta chars set UTF-8. Now inside the body tag, I'll specify the script associated to it. So first I'll say h2, that is hashing integer functions. Now after that I'll specify the script tag. So my script src will be nothing but hashing2.js. So let's go to our browser. So this is our browser. I'll call for hashing2. So this was hashing integer functions. So my student data is given in this format, where I have the 9-digit unique number with the number associated with the random integer. And the data distribution will have the key value pair associated to it in this particular format. So this was hashing integer values, or you can say hashing integer keys. The next chapter we'll focus on is a completely new chapter where we will understand about trees and binary trees.